So we have two brands of the company, obviously Pure and Simple. Our slogan is to keep your IT pure and simple. But basically, Pure Technology is a traditional MSP. We do small business IT support, technology implementation. That can look like a lot of different things. Sometimes it's as simple as just putting some desktop computers in. Other times
Yeah.
it's really complex stuff like helping an entire company move from on-premise servers to the cloud and implementing, multiple different cloud technologies. Sometimes it's building custom integrations for like a Salesforce or a CRM type of a tool.
Hey guys, and welcome to the Grow IT podcast. One of your hosts here, Trey King. And today we are very excited to have our guest, Mr. Scott McClanahan from Pure
Yes.
Technology and Simple POS Solutions. And we'll be diving a bit into his story today, as well as what it is that his companies, what they do, as well as some engaging insights into the technology industry. So make sure to stick around for this one. But without further ado, Scott, welcome to the Grow IT podcast.
Thank you. Pleasure to be here.
Scott, if you don't mind, if we can kick things off, if you can introduce yourself and just tell a quick snippet of your story.
Yeah, sure. So I am Scott McClanahan. I started the company way back in 1996, which feels like eons ago, and I'm not that old. But I actually did start the company when I was about 15 years old. I started as just I called myself a techpreneur for a while. I love technology and I became an entrepreneur. And I really started it to help people. I loved helping people. I was helping friends with their computer systems and their IT and their websites and that kind of stuff. And to be quite honest, I was sitting in school. Yes, I was in high school, 15 and a half, 16 years old. And here I am making, couple $1,000s on a website while all my other friends are working at fast food joints. And I said, one of us is stupid. And so I decided, this is a good plan. I like this plan. And of course, it's not always been easy, but I've been in business for, I think the calendar says 28 years. And
Wow.
we've been through a lot of ups and downs. I've actually grown the company three different times. Started off as a company in Atlanta, actually. We started off called East Bay Computers, and the funny story there, everybody says, "Well, are you from the Bay Area, or I had never been to California." The truth of the matter is, I had a friend of mine, and we were kind of coming up with the company, and I said, "Well, what should we call it?" And the little magazine, that sells the sports equipment and stuff, was sitting there on the
Yeah.
table, and he goes, "Hey, this is a cool name. How about East Bay?" Okay, great, let's do it. We found a sailboat logo and we moved on from there. It was a Microsoft clip art product for a long time. And anyway, we were East Bay Computers. And then down the road, we decided, I need to be something that's a little easier for people to remember because I'm tired of telling people I haven't been to the Bay Area. So we created the name Atlanta, because I was in Atlanta, Small Business Technology, because that's what we did. We were small business technology in Atlanta. And the short version is I moved out to Denver in 2012-ish, and I created a company called Denver Small Business Technology because that's what you do. And
Yeah.
so the next step, we had an RFP or something from Salt Lake, and I'm like, I don't want to have a Salt Lake SBT and a Denver SBT and an Atlanta SBT and like one of these for every city. We're trying to be a national company here, so it didn't make sense. So came up with the name Pure Technology, and Pure Technology is a really cool thing. I feel like it's a double entendre because it's Pure Technology is what we do. We do everything technology for business. We are a small business technology company, so we work with companies to help them understand their technology, implement technology, and support their technology. But it's also how we do business. We are a pure company. We feel like we have good morals. We want a business, we want a partnership that's a pure partnership, that's a partnership that you can trust. We want to be a company that's known for being, having high moral standards, good values. And so we feel like pure is a good word for that.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Tell me, Scott, based on your expertise, and I mean, geez, like you said, you've been at this for 28 years. I must say, you started when you were young, man. There's not a lot of us that can say that, right? So definitely kudos on that one. But based on your expertise, what are the current market trends, right, in our industry that
Yeah.
you are aware of? What way is the wind blowing these days?
Sure. Well, I asked this question to my team and my peers and other partners that we work with on a regular basis. And the thing that obviously comes up every day, I mean, I get an email at least probably once an hour, if not once a day, um, is AI. And AI can take on a lot of different meanings. I heard a great quote last week, and I think I'm going to adopt this. Everybody's afraid that AI will replace your jobs. AI is not going to replace your job, but
Yeah,
somebody using AI will absolutely replace your job. And so I think the market trend that
well
people need
said.
to understand is that AI is a tool, just like the computer was a tool when we used to do things on paper, just like the computer was a tool when people used to have to enter everything manually into a spreadsheet, like a paper spreadsheet. And then we became, accountants started using computers for bookkeeping, and legal companies started using computers for keeping ledgers and those kinds of things. And so AI is just another tool. And so what you have to realize is it's how you use that tool and how you implement that tool. So I think that's one of the biggest trends. Some of the other big trends, obviously, around anything that when you have major changes in technology, security is a huge deal. Security is a huge buzzword right now. I was at a conference a couple of weeks ago, and they were all
Yeah,
talking about new cyber threats, and of course
yeah.
there's internal threats from your company, employees and bad threat actors and whatnot inside your company. There's external threats from both other organizations, both in the U.S. and across the pond, and outside of the country and whatnot. One of the most interesting things to me was that a lot of these external threats in a lot of countries are actually state sponsored, which means that the governments
All
are
right.
actually helping those people. But the other thing that really surprised me, if you haven't, looked into this at all, is how easy it is to go on the dark web and literally you can buy ransomware and start giving it away and
What?
literally become a thief overnight. Yeah, it's not that difficult. I was talking to a friend of mine who's a hacker, and I'll keep him anonymous, but he was telling me, I just bought a new car, and he was telling
Yeah.
me that he had a friend who is serving time now, um, that bought an app. Yeah, you can't see that in black and white, but it's a phone. Downloaded an app on his phone, and literally within about 15 minutes was able to access these cars that have the smart keys, and was able to
Yes.
walk up to a car and break into it with the smart key, and not only break into it, but start the car. And I
He's
mean,
crazy.
it's
It's
crazy
mind
what's
blowing.
out there. Yeah. So you ask about some of the trends. I mean, I think two of the biggest trends is, the AI, and then the security around what's coming with that new technology.
Jeez.
Yeah.
Tell me, having said that, what would your take be on, what's the current market sentiment like?
The current market sentiment. Well, I think you've got two flavors of customer. One is I think you've got customers that are either naive or they just have their head in the sand and they don't believe that this stuff is coming and they're really resistant to change. And then
Yeah.
you've got the other ones that are really embracing the change. Case in point, I was on a call right before I got on this podcast, and we're talking to a customer. They're a huge retailer down in Florida. They've got about 14 stores, and their biggest initiative next year is how do we embrace AI? How do we take AI and start leveraging it to do better forecasting, to
Yeah.
manage our sales and our purchasing and our inventory process better? They're big retailers, so they've got multiple stores and whatnot. And even now they're looking at doing some AI marketing and things like that.
Yeah.
Last week I was talking to a customer, it's a small pet store, and she says, well, we don't really do any of that AI stuff. We're kind of a simple business. And I thought, gosh, if you don't start doing that, you're going to get left behind.
Yeah. Yeah. Good point.
Yeah.
Tell me, then, if you don't mind, just to give us a brief overview of what is it that your company does.
Yeah, absolutely. So we have two brands of the company, obviously pure and simple. Our slogan is to keep your IT pure and simple. But basically, Pure Technology is a traditional MSP. We do small business IT support, technology implementation. That can look like a lot of different things. Sometimes it's as simple as just putting some desktop computers in. Other times
Yeah.
it's really complex stuff like helping an entire company move from on-premise servers to the cloud and implementing, multiple different cloud technologies. Sometimes it's building custom integrations for like a Salesforce or a CRM type of a tool, maybe into
Yeah.
their phone system or their, marketing tools, those kinds of things. And then simple POS is specifically focused on restaurant and retail. So it's a really cool vertical that we get to play in. I personally worked in the restaurant industry. I've worked in all kind of different positions. I've been everything from a basic host to a chef. Not an executive chef. Don't give me too much credit, but I've cooked a few times. Um,
Yeah.
but I understand the industry really well, and so the restaurant and retail world, it's a neat little niche. And what happens is a lot of times, your big restaurant conglomerates that have 300 plus stores or whatever, they get technology. You get a Burger King or
Yeah.
McDonald's, they're investing in technology every single day. Fun
Yeah.
little story about automation in the restaurant industry. McDonald's is on track right now to automate all of their stores. I believe by the end of 2025 or 2026, they want to have
Yeah.
automation in every one of their stores. And if you haven't seen it already, you go to a McDonald's now and there's hardly even a place to order. There's little kiosk out in the lobby. But
Mm.
what you don't know is back on the back side of that, everything is automated. Big companies like Disney are doing the same type of thing with the automation, the AI, all those kind of things. But what about the small guy? What about the
Mm.
guy who's just, Bob's Burgers? And how do we help him? And so we
Yeah.
have solutions for those guys. On the restaurant retail side of things, we do everything from the basic things like point of sale, which is your cash register, the credit card processing, digital signage, digital marketing, and even things like e-commerce integrations. And now we've gotten into obviously the AI with the predictive analytics and predictive marketing tools. But one of the coolest things we're in right now is robotics. So we're starting to see the food service robots pop up. We're starting to see a
Yeah.
lot robotics on the supply chain. Amazon, everybody knows, has got a huge, really cool infrastructure for what they call inventory control and being able to move products from one shelf to another and whatnot. One of our vendors just invested $100 million onto robotics to be able to move product from one point to the other. Again, they're a
Yeah. That's quite an investment.
Oh, it's quite an investment, but the savings and the return on investment is huge.
Yeah.
I wish I knew all the numbers. I don't have them memorized, but it's pretty cool. But the other thing is even little things like we're seeing hotels that are starting to adopt cleaning robots. So there's actually a robot out there that literally can open a door, go into a restroom, do all the yucky stuff that nobody else wants to do, and clean an entire restroom, in 15 minutes. And so when you think about the fact these guys,
Easy.
yeah, and these guys, they never, they're never late to work. They never show up tired. Well, they do show up tired if you don't charge them. I learned that. But they don't call in sick. They don't ask for pay raises. It's a different way of looking at things. And I think that companies are realizing, hey, you know what? We're having a hard time filling some of these jobs, and robotics, there's a place for it. And so that's happening. Plus, of course, in the supply chain and the industrial markets, robots can do things that humans can't do or can't do safely. And we've all known that in the manufacturing industries for a long time, but we're starting to see that more in, supply chain and even all the way down in like basic restaurants and even smaller hospitals, offices, things like that. They're using robots for a lot of different places. I was at the Delta Sky Lounge not too long ago, and they have a robot now that comes around and brings drinks to you. So just an example of where,
That's fascinating.
yeah,
Wow.
the technology is just happening all over the place.
That is fascinating.
Yeah.
Tell me, if you don't mind, if we can maybe take a step back and just look at business in general. You've been at it for, like we mentioned earlier, for about 28 years ongoing, right? And what, in your opinion, what
Mhm.
type of mindset would you say is needed to be a successful founder of a company?
Oh boy.
I
Well,
know, quite a loaded question, right? But yeah.
you got to have guts. You got to have guts. You got to be willing to stick it out. I think you've got to have vision. You got to have belief. You know, when you start a company, at least the path that I took, it was just me to start with. And when you're trying to bring on your first employee, you're convincing them you're really selling yourself. You're selling your vision. You're selling your passion. And so, hey, listen, come and work for me because of all these things. And you've got to be able to do that in a way that is um, in a way that leads them to believe that you know where you're going, even
Yeah.
if you even if you don't. But you've got to have that confidence. I'll tell you a quick story. The very first really large sale that I sold, and I won't get into all the details, but it was over $300,000. And the equipment and the products that I had sold, out of about 14 different product lines, guess how many I had ever sold before?
No idea. One.
One. One. And
Gotcha.
and here's the reason, because I didn't tell the customer no. I didn't take no for an answer.
Yeah.
The customer says, well, hey, do you do can you do digital signage? Yeah, of course we can do that. Can you
Yeah.
do can you do restaurant point of sale? Well, yeah, sure, no problem. It's a computer, right? And so that may not be the best advice, but that's what I did. And I think having that ability to say, yeah, we can do that. We can figure it out. I heard somebody talk one time about Disney, Walt Disney specifically. And one
Yeah.
of Walt Disney's biggest things was if he sat in a room with all of his Imagineers, which were the guys that came up with the rides and the stuff, and everybody came up with an idea, and everybody was like, yeah, let's do that. That sounds easy. We can do that. No, we're not doing that. But if an idea came up and somebody said, yeah, I don't know how we're going to do that. How are we going to figure that out? Walt Disney would say, that's the one we're going to do. And I think that's powerful. And the reason I think it's powerful is because what that does as a leader is that says, look, we're always pushing the boundaries. Somebody says, oh, yeah,
Innovating.
we can do this at 100 miles, no problem. Well, what would it take to get to 110? How can we do it better? And it's not just about better, faster, cheaper, because that's what you hear a lot of times from stage in a marketing conference or whatnot. It's not always better, faster, cheaper, but it is better. Maybe it's more, maybe it is more profitable. So by doing it, less expensive, you make more money. But sometimes maybe it's doing it safer. Sometimes it's doing it in a way that is, just better because it provides better quality. Sometimes it's doing it in a way that provides the customer a better end user, I mean, the end customer a better experience. So
Yeah.
I think it's being willing to ask those questions and not just accepting status quo. I've had a whole thing, and I won't get too deep into it, but the last couple of years, I've been saying, one of, I think, the biggest problems really with our world is we don't ask why anymore. We just
Yeah.
accept the truth blindly, and we just go, okay, that's how it is. Oh, well. But if you think about the greats, if you think about the guys that invented the telephone or the car or even the space shuttle, the reason that we were able to make those achievements is because we said, why? We said, why are we doing it that way? Isn't there a better way? What about, I mean,
Yeah.
couldn't we freeze that food? And what about this thing called a microwave? Maybe there's a way to heat the food up faster. I mean, all of these things, pick any invention in the world, it came about because of the fact that somebody said, no, I'm not happy with that. Let's do it better. And most entrepreneurs, if you talk to them, they got into a business for one of a couple of reasons. Most of the time they wanted things like autonomy and to be able to send their kids to college on their own dime and things like that. But most of them wanted to do something better. They said,
Yeah.
I see a better way. And I think that's one of the most important things. If you're going to be an entrepreneur, if you're going to be a leader, if you're going to be a successful founder, as you say, you got to be willing to ask that question. And then the second thing is you got to be willing to have the grit to stick it out because every day is not fun.
Yeah.
There's a lot of ups and downs. I mentioned it earlier. I basically built this company 3 different times. And I'm sure that there's a lot more learning that I've got to go, but you got to be willing to learn and you got to be willing to keep going.
Tell me, Scott, where can the listeners where can we get hold of you?
Yeah, absolutely. I'm on pretty much everywhere. You can go to our website, obviously. The best website is either pureittech.com. That's why I put that on the screen, and simpleposinc.com. Either one of those will get you to our website. I'm on LinkedIn, Facebook under both of those company names or my own name. So yeah, you can find me there. You can always reach out to me via email, website, phone. I'm easy to get a hold
Scott, I would like to commend you. I can fully understand why your business, well, both of them, is so successful.
of.
There's great value that you bring to the table, and I only wish you the best for you and the businesses going forward, growing strength from strength. Thank you for today. Thank you for these valuable insights. I mean, you gave us a couple of pearls here today, so
Appreciate it.
really
Listen,
appreciate your time.
none of it came from up here. Be a student of your environment. I
Yeah.
listen, I ask questions everywhere I go. I can't take credit for any of these thoughts. I listen to what's going on. repeat what makes sense. But we have a motto here at Pure and Simple, and it comes from, again, one of my favorites, Walt Disney, and his kind of motto was to keep moving forward. And I think that that's so important every day you get up. And if I'm speaking to other business owners or founders or CEOs or executives or whatever,
Yeah.
if you're like me, there's days when you get up and you go, I just don't want to do this anymore. Man, you know what? You keep moving forward. Just get through one more day. Get through one more day. I heard a successful, literally billionaire say one time, we just did a little bit every day.
Excellent.
So
those are good
yeah,
words to remember.
absolutely.
Thank you,
Well,
Scott.
absolutely. Thank you for your time, Trey. I really appreciate this. This is fun.
Yeah, it was fun. Thanks for hopping on.
You got it. Absolutely.
Take care. Bye now.
All right.